This is the sluggo, slant and go.
Casey the Beef Cregan. First time in 3 weeks I see your beautiful face. Man, it's so good to see you, but doesn't look like you're in Mom's basement. Where are you at?
I'm in Stone Harbor, beautiful Stone Harbor, New Jersey, a.k.a. the Jersey Shore, way down south. It's a lot of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania folk here in the way, way, way south New Jersey. But, yeah, we're having a great time. But, yeah, I wore a collar today for the occasion, just for you, because we're back 3 weeks.
I haven't seen a collar since March of 2020, I think. It's been a while since I had a collar on. Wow. And guess what? I don't miss it one bit. Oh, man. Well, it's a good thing you're on vacation because, as you know, we've been off for a couple of weeks. I was on vacation for a week. And we missed the show, which is, I think, the second time in like 59 or 60 weeks we're working on. But anyway, you know what I figured out from vacation? There's a couple of things I figured out. And one of them we talked about before we went live, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the other one is, I hate to say this, but I think the terrorists have won because flying in 2021 sucks rocks, man. And if you fly with a 3-year-old these days, I don't know how you do it because I was flying with a 15-year-old and my wife, of course. And man, it's horrible. It's just horrible. Taking shoes off, putting shoes on, laptops in, laptops out, devices here, everything in a pile. It's just, I hate it. I hate flying. I think I'm going to drive to Hawaii next week.
I'll tell you, the best $85 you'll ever spend is to get that TSA pre-check, man. Literally, it takes all of 4 seconds to get fingerprinted. It's $85 in a dream. You get right through. You don't have to put anything in anything, regardless of the airport. It is fantastic. You don't take your shoes off. It's wonderful. They probably know where you live, what you do, where you were last Tuesday. But, however, it's $85 in the dream. It gets you right through. It's a beautiful thing.
I'm going to check that out because the wife and I are next year. We're leaving. We're probably going to try Vegas next year if things calm down. And Junior's only 15 as of Tuesday. Happy birthday, Junior, wherever you are.
Happy birthday, Parker.
And what's he going to do? Sit in a hotel room and do nothing for a week? And while we're at the casinos gambling his college fund away. So anyway, he wants to stay home anyway, probably. So we might try that for next year.
It's worth it. I don't mean, I know we're not that show, but it's absolutely, if you fly twice, it pays for itself. It's wonderful. You fly through airports, especially where I am in the Northeast here in Newark. You fly right through it. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But like I said, it's $85 a person. We're not getting sponsored by him, so I don't know why I keep going on by him. But hello to Kevron Harris, our biggest fan, no question. It's always great to see him.
Well, he is the number one fan in Cope, South Carolina. I can promise you that.
He's my number one fan. There's no question.
Oh, well, he's your only fan. Hey, $85. I'm gonna have to talk the wife into that because that'd be $170. But once it happens, $85 up front might cause a little angst.
For 5 years.
Yes, once we get to the airport, she'll be thanking, I was going to say me, but she'll probably be thanking you also. So appreciate the heads up. Edwin Navarro says, hey, he's listening from SoCal. And how do you say, is it It's Elgin?
Gin. I think it's
I was going to say, because here in Texas, there's a town that's Elgin, spelled the same way.
Edwin, put it phonetically.
Phonetically. I love that. That's a new word we're going to use here on this show. We've been away from each other for 2 weeks. It's just crazy. Hey, and speaking about that vacation I was talking about, as you know, because we've talked in the last 2 weeks on the old text machine, Parker and I went to Orlando as a family, not the Disney thing. He's too old for that. We're hanging out in Orlando at a Marriott resort, which is really nice. And Parker and I took that opportunity to hit our third Major League Stadium of the season. And you and I were talking before the show. We had so much fun at the I won't say Tampa Bay Rays, but as the hat says, I even brought the hat. I didn't get a T-shirt, but got the hat. Tampa Bay Rays game. We saw your old office. It had Casey Cregan used to live here on it. This is where Casey made his millions selling season tickets to Tampa Bay Ray games. And but anyway, we're talking about the stadium. Parker said it was overhated. He enjoyed the experience. We sat behind home plate. We saw a guy hit a ball. Now we know what 107 miles an hour looks like from behind the plate. We've seen it from the side. We've seen it from center field, but from behind the plate, it was very enjoyable to see. But the stadium is overhated, right? It's not Houston, and it's not going to be New York. It's not going to be Yankee Stadium. It's not going to be the Texas Rangers new stadium. Nothing wrong with that stadium. Easy parking, in and out. We had a blast. It was a lot of fun, and don't let anybody ever put down those Tampa Bay Rays. It was a great time. So, JJ in Tampa, man, it was a good time. Wish you could have made it. Casey said he told me, and he told you when I was going to be there, and you didn't show up. Sorry, Mr. JJ, but we had a great time at your home ballpark.
You know, it's so funny that we used to get especially when I lived there, we're very defensive of our town, no matter where I'm from. I think being from New Jersey, we're defensive of New Jersey, right? And we're defensive of the New York teams that I lived in. But when I lived in Tampa, we're very defensive of those teams as well. And like I told you pre-show, we used to decide at 5:30 to go to a game because you could. You could walk up to the ticket box, in which I did work, and pay $20 and get great seats. Or not even, you pay $20. When I worked there, they had Southwest Airlines was a big sponsor. They had literal plane seats in the outfield that lined the outfield, and they were $4 a piece. Of course, they went first, but when I used to leave the ticket office and go to the games, nobody was sitting there. Weird. But, you know, it was so easy. It's like you told me pre-show, it's so easy in, it's so easy out. If you have 4 people in the car, it's free parking, and you're right there at the stadium. What is it, 100-yard walk to the doors?
Yeah.
It's a great thing. Should it be outdoors there? Probably. No question about it. Should it be retractable? No question about it. But for what they have and what they are and the product they put on the field, there's no reason that I could go on a soapbox. There's no reason that those 2 cities shouldn't be supporting that team. And I'm not even a fan.
Yeah. Well, like I told you, we're Astro fans here. So there's some competition there for the American League. Hard not to pull for that team. Lots of fun, a good time. By the way, Edwin says it is Elgin.
I told you.
Yeah.
Who's the brains behind this operation?
Neither one of us. Hey, look who checked in. It's our old friend Turjay from the Pit Boss Sauce Company. Turjay,
I'm still eating his sauce.
How's it going, Turjay? It's been a hot minute since we had a chance to reach out to you and talk to you. Good to hear from you.
Still love your sauce, Turjay. Still love your sauce.
Speaking of which, I saw on the other day on the Book of Faces, as you call it, a post from Turjay said he was driving around town handing out sauce. So you and I live in the wrong town in this instance. So he was spreading the love, so to speak, all over South Carolina.
There's no reason that you should be giving that stuff for free. That's how good it is. It is absolute restaurant quality, better than restaurant quality barbecue sauce. That stuff, I don't know why or what we have to do to get that stuff off the ground, but that's a really good barbecue sauce. So, hey, this is a free plug for you, Turjay. You know we love you. You know we will always love you. It was no BS that we like your sauce. We love your sauce. So there's no reason for you to give it out for free. We gotta help you out, make money here.
Pitbosssauce.com, I think is what it was. I hope that was right, Turjay. Put it in the comments. I'll put it on the screen. All right. Hey, it's August, Beef. Now, August means almost football. We're getting there. There's preseason games tomorrow night, I think, in the NFL. It's talking season now, as Dabo likes to say. At least in my mind, it's talking season. And guess what I heard today? we don't need to worry about September 4th because Clemson, Georgia, it doesn't matter. And this was Stanford Steve from Van Pelt, but he was on his podcast with the Bear from ESPN, and he said it doesn't matter, because these teams aren't going to lose to anybody else. I mean, in the context, it made. I hate to say that, but I understood. It didn't make sense. I understood what he's saying in context, right? Clemson's not going to lose another game probably, so they're still going to make the playoff. Georgia can afford to lose this game because they're going to be in the SEC. I disagree with that, by the way. But the point is, it's one of the biggest, most anticipated games of the season. It's the opening week, and we got a guy who purports to love college football say this game doesn't matter. It matters so much to Clemson fans. I can't even find the right side of my shirt here. Clemson fans, you know what I'm trying to say. It matters to Clemson fans, Georgia fans, college football fans. This is the same numbskull that will tell us, oh, I can't wait to see Connecticut play Rutgers in week 8. That'll be a great game. I'm really fired up for it. It's just stupid. There's many ways to say it's not the be all and end all of the season, for instance, like I just said, and both teams can still make the playoffs. To me, that's different than saying it doesn't matter. It's the biggest game of the opening week. Of course it matters. A guy who has an ESPN platform, that's his message to college football fans. Well, I've been holding back for 3 weeks, Casey.
That was good.
Yeah, that's his message. I'm the face of college football on ESPN. This game doesn't matter, but I can't wait to watch Connecticut play Rutgers in November. Stupid.
Well, I think, as you just said, his message doesn't fall on deaf ears, meaning that in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter because both teams technically could possibly, see all these words I'm adding into this, take a loss and still be okay. However, in the same side of his mouth, and I'm not speaking necessarily for Stanford Steve, but just other college football fans around the country, one thing that is constantly talked about is that the fact that there's no marquee games every week. There's no games of the top versus the top, right? In these preseason polls, which you know how I feel about them, in a couple weeks we'll definitely get on my soapbox about. In these preseason polls, Clemson is around 2 or 3, and Georgia's around 4 or 5 in these preseason polls, right? So you're getting this marquee matchup, week number 1, versus all these talking heads coming together. So, yes, in the grand scheme of things, if you want to push that down and suppress that a little bit, maybe it doesn't matter in the long term. But as far as people that want to see these marquee matchups every week, the reason why everyone's so excited about Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC, so that every week they're playing a team like LSU or a team like Alabama or Mississippi State or whatever gets them excited, Texas A&M. Now we're getting that week number 1. It does matter. It is exactly what everyone talks about to get excited about college football season. Here we are, week number 1, September 4th. You're getting number 3 versus number 4, number 2 versus number 3, whatever it might be. Sorry, this might be the margaritas talking, but anyway, I had it way early. I'm just kidding. But no, what I mean is it absolutely matters, and I was so happy you put this on Twitter before, and I kept saying like, "Hey, let's talk about it tonight," because I was a little fired up too, because it absolutely matters because everyone out of their mouth is saying we need these marquee matches every week. Here is one. You get it. Week number 1, 3 versus 4, 2 versus 3, whatever it is on these stupid polls. You're getting two of the top programs in the country to open the season. It's brilliant. I love it.
And we got one of the big mouths from ESPN saying it doesn't matter. And John Chansey wants me to.
I thought you were going to say one of the big mouths from Sluggo podcast, John Chansey.
Tell us how you really feel, and that's true. Listen, even if you took his side of the argument that they could afford a loss, which I don't believe, by the way, for Clemson.
Georgia?
For Clemson, well. He's supposing that Georgia's going to go through the rest of the season undefeated. What happened to the big tough SEC? You grind every week. You got to play NFL schedule every week.
Their schedule's soft, Marty. Look at it. Other than Florida, their schedule's real soft.
Well, my point is they can't both be true. The SEC can't be the greatest conference in the world, and Georgia's going to cakewalk through their side, or this game matters. Look, another scenario. What happens if one team, whichever one, pick one, loses by 28 points? Well, Clemson ain't going to the playoff for sure. And Georgia might not if they lose to Clemson by 28 because Clemson's schedule is so tough. I mean, to say it doesn't matter, you've got to suppose that Georgia's going to go undefeated. Hell, they lost to South Carolina home 2 years ago. South Carolina.
28-point favorites on the road. Yes, yeah, I know.
That's my point. To say it doesn't matter, you got to make all kind of mental gymnastics in your head and have the season planned out. You don't know what happens if DJ gets hurt. What happens if the Georgia quarterback gets hurt? You don't know whether it matters. And if your job is to promote college football, you shouldn't be saying the biggest game of the year, the top 5 matchup in the opening week doesn't matter. It's stupid, dumb, and wrong. That's how I feel, John Chancey.
I agree fully. I love fired up Marty Coleman. There's no question about it. We don't get it enough, and we need more of it. But you're 100% correct, especially when you're on that flagship station and that you have nothing but college football come September. And here you are telling everybody that it doesn't matter, so not to listen, not to watch it. Yeah, that's not a good message to send.
Woo, just dumb.
You feel good? You feel good?
Yeah, I feel better. That's 3 weeks worth of yelling at Casey on the computer. That I'm getting it all out. Hey, Casey, did anything happen when we were gone those 2 weeks? I didn't land. I didn't land in Florida. We had a direct flight, by the way. Austin did to Orlando. It's pretty sweet. Texas and Oklahoma are going to join the SEC now. Where I live, because I live, for those who don't know, right outside Austin, Texas. I can practically spit and hit the Travis County line. And I've lived in this general area, sometimes in Austin for the last 30 years or so. But when Texas A&M decided to go to the SEC, and they went for the right reasons, because Texas was telling the Big 12 how to run their operation. Texas was basically leading the Big 12 by the nose and getting all the money, but they laughed at Texas A&M, right? How many every years? It's been 10 or 11 years now, I think. I think it was 2011, if I remember correctly.
It was.
They laughed at Texas A&M, and now they're following Texas A&M, and they're going to be the junior member of the conference that Texas A&M is in. And hey, this team, I think here's my take on this. I told Texas fans when A&M went to the SEC, this was terrible news for them, because the SEC was going to be seen in Texas households a lot more. Obviously, it was with the CBS game of the week each and every week. But now, when you go over to your Texas A&M neighbor's house, guess what he's watching? He's watching the SEC. He's not watching that stupid ass. Stupid. I think I was the one that had the beers. He's not watching that stupid Big 12 game that's 75-72 or whatever. He's watching the SEC. And guess what the kids are watching? The kids who are going to grow up and play in Texas high school and want to go to the SEC. It killed Texas recruiting. It killed the Big 12. Killed it so much, Texas is giving up their $16 million a year Longhorn network to join the SEC and go 6-6. Boy, I'm fired up tonight. This is
You
fun.
are. I love it, dude. We need to take 2-week breaks more often. I'm just kidding. But no, especially now that you're in it, right? I mean, I felt the same way back in the 90s and early 2000s with Florida when I was living there and Urban Meyer was there. So I understand the ire and the energy there. But yeah, Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC. Wow, on paper as a college football fan, it looks fantastic. Really, I mean, you're looking at these games and more for me personally for Oklahoma to be playing, like I was telling earlier about that you're playing every week. You're playing in Alabama or an LSU or Texas A&M or I don't know who on the East is any Florida. I mean, like those games are fantastic to watch as a college football fan. But yeah, it's funny. Because everyone was talking about that this was the first domino to fall. And I feel like right when it happened, it felt like everyone was trying to rush to see who was going to go where. But there's been a lot of quiet this last couple weeks after they moved over to the SEC. So I don't know if this is going to be as quick as we anticipated or thought a couple weeks ago as far as realignment. But this is a big move. I mean, that's a lot of money with Texas alone that's moving to the SEC. They were one of the most valuable franchises, if you will, in college football, moving in with the second most valuable franchise with Bama. It's a lot of money there, and $15 million they spit on it, but it's going to be fun in 2025 with those guys in there. We'll see what happens, but there's going to be a lot of other moving parts, I think, too.
Here's my guess: Oklahoma doesn't make the playoffs once they join the SEC for 5 or 6 years. Texas is not even in that conversation. It might be 10 years.
You're right with the Texas thing. I mean, it depends on where OU goes and if they realign the conference, right? If they realign the conference, and I get it. So if they're on the same side, there's no way you can look at it geographically and say they're not going to be on the same side as Bama. So I get that they're not going to be in the playoff. If it goes to 12, though, they're probably going to be there, right?
Well, that's a good point. That's a
SEC
good point.
team. But I'm with you 1,000% that we won't see them. I'm not sure the SEC is as good as everyone has, and that narrative that we've had since 2001 about how awesome they are top to bottom it doesn't really hold much weight anymore. But they are definitely good 1 through 4.
Yeah, so, definitely top heavy, and not a bad conference. I'm not trying to say that. Definitely top heavy. I just think they're going to have Oklahoma's going to end up with, chances are, 1 or 2 losses a year. They're not going to run through it like they ran through the Big 12. 18 straight years or whatever.
Yeah.
Robbie Posey's checking in from Fernandina Beach, Florida, doing some military training down here. Thank you for your service, Robbie. I'm a proud veteran here. We collect money every time I say a certain word and use it to feed the veterans at my local Veterans Hall here in Kyle, Texas. We did it last year, raised $200. I didn't say the word 200 times. Some very generous donations. Nelson Wilhite, Casey's friend from the Chop and Beef, Jeff, JJ in Tampa, who we were just talking about, very generous donation. So thank you for your service, Robbie. Stay safe, bud.
It's great to see Robbie Posey jumping in Fernandina Beach, one of the better parts of Florida, that northeast corner. It's wonderful. So thank you for checking in. We appreciate it very much.
Now, the last piece of this realignment puzzle, Casey, I want to talk about is, what do you think happens with Clemson and the ACC? Everybody's talking about locked into agreements till 2036, but isn't that those grant of rights with ESPN? And if ESPN wants to see something different besides Clemson and Syracuse and a November tilt, couldn't ESPN sway? Apparently they swayed Texas and OU to join the SEC. So couldn't they do something like say, hey, SEC, you need Clemson and Florida State? Or, maybe not. Maybe something else is in the works. What do you see coming down the pike for Clemson?
Yeah, I think, and to go, I'm going to start broad and then bring it in. But I really believe that at the end of the day, there's probably going to be 3 or 4 major conferences. And I saw a guy the other day, a West Virginia guy, a podcaster, Blue and Gold guy, who I actually enjoy, but he was talking about 24-team conferences, which in my mind seems a little bit too much. But he was pretty persuasive in what he was talking about. And 24 teams times 3, that's what, I don't know, math, 92 teams, 72 teams?
72.
Yeah, math. Like I said, 72 teams is 127, 28 teams in the college football, 130 teams in the college football. So it doesn't include everyone. But that's intriguing to me. See, I used it correctly. That's intriguing to me because 24-team conferences times 3 or 4 kind of encompasses everybody. That may be where we go. As far as where Clemson ends up, I don't know, especially with grant of rights, as you said, it sounds very binding to me. It sounds like Clemson's not going to go anywhere. But in the flip side, it sounds like Clemson and Florida State are in lockstep together. So it feels like those 2 teams together, regardless of what Mark Ryan says on whatever he is, ESPN Radio Upstate, who's a friend of mine, personal friend of mine. I do know Mark Ryan very well.
Don't know his station very well, though.
No, I don't know the call letters, but I know he's on ESPN. Regardless of what he says, I still do think that Florida State and Clemson are together. Where they end up, I'm not sure. And I'm not going to throw it away that the ACC goes away. And as much as I think Clemson fans, especially when Texas and Oklahoma went immediately to the SEC, we immediately thought, myself included, oh, Clemson will just fill right in to the SEC. I don't know if that's going to necessarily be where they end up. And I wouldn't be surprised if the ACC, especially with the new commissioner, kind of tries to get some of the big dogs from everywhere. In my opinion, geography doesn't matter anymore. And
Right.
people could flame me away, and that's okay. But I don't think geography's a thing anymore. So there could possibly be an ACC, Atlantic Coast Conference, with like a USC or a UCLA or a Washington or a Utah or a Colorado. It could happen that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and the ACC get together and throw a Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and a USC, UCLA. I think we're a long way from knowing where we're going with this. I think we're a long way from knowing where Clemson goes. But as John Chansey says, I have a feeling that the ACC is going to try to bolster its lineup before the top teams jump somewhere else.
Well, we already know. I don't know about the geographical names, but we already know the names don't mean anything, right? The Big 12 had 10 teams, the Big 10 had 14, or how many? I don't even know anymore, right?
The numbers don't even matter in their name. Yeah.
The Pac just changed it as they added teams. It was Pac 8, Pac 10, Pac 12, Pac 24. I guess it could be, right? So I think you're right. I will say this: the geography does not matter for football. It matters a heck of a lot for the other sports, especially the Olympic sports. That was my argument back when they were talking about Clemson going to the Big 12. The baseball team is going to Lubbock, Texas, and make a 3,000 mile one, not 3,000, 2,000 mile one way trip,
Significant
for
trip, yeah.
for a weekend series. Come on, you'd have to go on those trips where they just like the minor league baseball trips where they go for a week in one place. You'd have to, you play
5 games.
Yeah, well, you play Texas Tech. Then in the middle of the week, play Oklahoma State, and then on the next weekend, play Oklahoma. You had a 12-game road trip or whatever, and volleyball and things like that. I know, that makes it tough. But there are teams, right, that are in different conferences for different sports, and that may be the future, right? It could be your football is in, some conference to be named, and all your other sports are staying in the ACC or whatever. However it plays out, very well that could be how it ends up.
And I don't mean to be the Notre Dame minute and giving Mike Palkovich's his due here, but like Notre Dame holds some cards here, I think, a little bit too, because every conference, it seems, especially the ACC, that's talking about expansion, the first name that they're talking about outside of West Virginia is Notre Dame. And personally, I don't think that they need to be involved in order to keep up with the Joneses, if you will, but they're right there, man, at the tip of everyone's tongue. But stay independent. That's my advice.
So here's the one thing about Notre Dame that, and I hate more than you, giving Palka's minute. He'll laugh. He'll laugh when he hears this. He's apparently not watching today, but he'll laugh when he hears this.
He's not.
Okay, let's say the SEC goes to 16 teams and the ACC does something and they go to 16 teams. I know Notre Dame already has this agreement to play 5 ACC teams. But let's set that aside for a minute. When all these super conferences, are they going to play more conference games? And that means less opportunities for Notre Dame. Is Notre Dame's schedule going to end up being Army, Navy, Brigham Young, New Mexico State, and whoever else? And Southern Cal is not going to have space to play in, but once every 4 years, and Clemson and the ACC thing eventually goes away. That's not a forever contract into perpetuity. The ACC says, "I'm sorry, now we got 16 teams. We got to schedule more conference games. We can't play you." They're going to do it because there's money in playing Notre Dame. But dream with me here for a minute. When Notre Dame has trouble scheduling anybody of significance or many games of significance.
That's one thing that I hadn't thought of, and I think you're 100% spot on. And it's some. Tell the wife that I told you you're 100%. That's something that's a great point. If these conferences go to 16 games and they're playing 10-game conference and they're getting marquee matchups each and every week, how does Notre Dame fit in? They don't, in my opinion. They don't fit at all.
Yeah.
These SEC games, the SEC teams don't need Notre Dame at all, one
Right.
bit. You know,
Right.
if the ACC can match up some marquee names and bring them in, I'm not sure West Virginia is it. They're just the hot name that's going on in the conference right now. But you get a couple of these marquee matchups and marquee teams that come in, and Notre Dame's like, oh well, hey, we still get our 5 games, and ACC's like, no, you don't. We're good because we have marquee matchups each and every week. That might force Notre Dame's hand big time, and maybe that's actually what they're trying to do.
Well, and here's the other thing: if they're the guy you're talking about with the 2014 conferences, is there going to be any non-conference? Is there going to be one non-conference game? You know, who if that comes to pass? I know that's a long way away. We just made it to 16, but you know, what is Notre Dame going to do when everybody has one non-conference game and they want to play the Citadel or you know, Alabama A&M or whatever? They don't want to play Notre Dame. You know, they want to win.
Heck no, especially if I don't know.
Oh, John. Okay, what happened to?
What if everything?
There it is. What if everything goes to streaming? John Chansey. What if everything goes to streaming? The big schools decide they don't want to share money anymore. Everyone goes independent. That's not a bad idea. Just be independent. You know, hey, I'm not against that.
That's going to be tough for those guys scrambling to try to get marquee games each and every week. But I
mean, might not work for Duke, but
yeah, but it's a great idea. But you're making those ads work, man. You know, they're trying to get week 1 versus Alabama, week 2 versus somebody else. They're on the phone hard. That's a great idea. Write an article about that, Chansey.
Yeah, yes, please. At least 3 pieces. I need some stuff. At least 3 pieces. John Chansey's a good writer, though, John. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little. We've screamed about everything so far. I don't know. Well, I might have something to scream about.
I got something
about recruiting. Okay. Quinn Ewers decided he didn't need. He was too cool for school. Too cool for high school anyway. And he's off to Ohio State. And there's a logjam at quarterback there now, right? Because they had to. I guess one of them's not a freshman because he played a little bit last year. COVID freshman, maybe. So they may have 3 guys that are actually classified as freshmen. None of them have thrown a pass in college. I read somewhere that the Ohio State coaches weren't necessarily happy about this, that they had a plan going into the season, and we need to get our Dan Hope on to talk about this. But I heard they weren't thrilled about this because they had a plan going into the season and some separation, right, in the position quarterback, you know, sophomore or freshman and a freshman next year, kind of ruined things for them. First of all, what's your take on this? And Nelson's been talking about this kind of from the Nelson Wilhite, from the NIL angle and what this would mean for high schools moving forward, and maybe the state of Texas, which they don't care about Quinn Ewers. I can tell Nelson that right now. That this may have some ramifications there. But what's your take on it? That piece of it, and him leaving high school early happens all the time. He's just leaving a semester earlier than those early enrollees do in January, right? But this kid's giving up his whole senior year of high school, not to mention leaving his high school team in a lurch. They just lost the best quarterback in the nation, and to profit off the NIL and start his college career early. Give me your take on the whole thing.
Well, the whole thing, it starts probably a little bit more broad for me, is that it's a slippery slope, man. This is going to, unfortunately, it's one of the marquee names of the recruiting world in 2021, and he's leaving early because he couldn't benefit from his name, image, likeness in high school, which that's a slippery slope for those top end dudes at the next level and the next year and subsequent years. Excuse me. However, I think you said it with Ohio State, I really think it did screw them up because you don't plan for something like that. Of course they're going to take them. What are they going to say? No, sorry, we don't want you. No, of course they're going to say they want them. But as far as what they have coming and the years, there's a specific, and Ryan Day and his staff is as good a recruiter as Brian Hartline are as good as recruiters as there are in the country. And I may not like the program or the team, but there's no denying that. That absolutely messes them up for the future because now they have to throw him into the mix and you're going to lose a year regardless. He's not going to redshirt. He's the number 1 quarterback in the country. he's not going to redshirt. So I really think it messes everything up for Ohio State, because now they're going to be probably scrambling to try to get in on somebody for 2022, 2023, whereas they probably well behind the eight ball with that. But that's a good thing in my mind as an anti-Ohio State fan. But as a college football fan, I think this is, like I said earlier, this is a slippery slope for NIL, and that guys are going to do this. We started seeing it with guys leaving before bowl games to prepare for the pros, and it's trickled down now the NIL. Now we're going into high school already. Ugh, this isn't going to be the last time, and that I don't like it that one bit, Marty. I don't like it one bit.
Who is going to transfer, right? It's one thing to say, "Hey, I'm battling for the quarterback position at Ohio State. I lost out here, but I'm going to be the second string guy. And maybe if an injury happens, I'll get in there and show them what I can do. It'll all work out for me in." But somebody's going to be third string out of one of those guys. That was expecting to start for Ohio State, right? Because those two guys that are there before yours, there was theoretically anyway, at least that I read, there was a competition. So they both expected that they were going to start. And one of them now is going to be third string unless yours is third string, which is hard to believe the best quarterback in the nation.
That transfer portal is going to come into play with Ohio State, but they're not going there. None of those guys, especially the 4- and 5-star guys, they're not going there to sit for a year, let alone 2.
Yeah,
Quinn Ewers isn't going there to sit. I mean, as much as he was one credit away from graduating high school, he's not going there to sit. Even now, he's not expecting to sit. It's a slippery slope, and college coaches better nip it in the bud before it gets to be a real big issue going forward.
No doubt. Okay, Travis Shaw has announced a commitment date, and I don't even remember when that is, the latter part of August. But
maybe.
Yeah, but over on 247, I checked right before I jumped on with you, and Clemson is not the favorite. North Carolina is the favorite, and J.P. Priester, friend of the show's favorite recruiting guru, has chimed in and said North Carolina is the team to beat here. So Clemson, you gave me a hard time fairly about panicking when Clemson was not recruiting at a high level as they ended up doing in the latter part of June and July. Feel much better now, but my point at the time, you're not just missing out on some old 4-star cornerback. You missed out on your top quarterback that you desired. Now things worked out there, and I'm a believer in Klubnik. And you missed out on another lineman or linebacker, Jalon Walker, that ended up at Georgia. And now it looks like you may miss out on Travis Shaw. So those are big misses, I guess is what I'm saying. The hits have been big for Clemson too, and the misses have been big. So maybe I, as you said, need not panic and realize that when you're playing at the top of the game, when you miss, you're going to miss big. It's better than missing on a 2-star, right?
Yeah, but I'm with you on this. I don't like to align with you on this, but this is a big one, and for all intents and purposes, it feels like this is a North Carolina lean from Travis Shaw. Now, he is a North Carolina guy. I'm sure Dre Bly and Mac Brown are putting the full court press. Jalen Walker was a big miss linebacker-wise. However, it felt like Travis Shaw and Walker were a tag team together, so I thought maybe when he announced his commit date that Georgia was going to be more of a factor, but this really feels like a North Carolina win, and I don't like it. I told somebody the other day that I agree with them, Clemson Yoda on Twitter. I agree with that they were probably going. He was probably going to North Carolina. However, I'm not a fan of believing that, and I always have hope, but this just feels like a North Carolina win, and that sucks.
Yeah, JP has always told me Steve Wiltfong does not, on 247, does not make these predictions lightly. He has Travis Shaw as a 6 in the confidence level, which is showing as medium. The other bad news is Clemson's expert on that site, Anna Hickey, has it as an 8 for North Carolina. So things aren't looking good for the Tigers there. Defensive line, that's a really important position. Hey, breaking news. it's important to have a defensive line. So this would be a big miss for Clemson if, in fact, they do miss. I saw on here on our outline, you put Trevor Etienne on here. He's down to 5 schools, of which Clemson is 1. Florida, LSU, Bama, and Georgia are the other 4. 4 SEC teams and Clemson. What's your take on Mr. Etienne?
Yeah, I put it out on Twitter on the Sidelines Clemson page, maybe on the Sluggo page. I'm not sure myself, but I definitely put it on the Sidelines Clemson page that I feel like this is a battle between Florida and Clemson because LSU's room seems to be full, Bama's room seems to be full, UGA's room seems to be full. The only 2 that really aren't full, based on my baseline research, is Florida and Clemson. So I really, truly believe that this is a battle. And I tweeted at Danetta Etienne, Trevor's mom, and I said that this feels like it's between Florida and Clemson. And the other 3 are great because of name recognition, but I don't think the other 3 really have a dog in the hunt. But it's a good news for Clemson that it's one between, in my opinion, I really, truly feel it's between the 2. And so when you go up 1 versus 1, I have a lot of faith in Dabo and staff to get him there. And as I've been mentioning multiple times, I'm on record of saying it. This is one that I want. It's a personal thing. I want Trevor Etienne in Clemson, and I hope Florida's going to be tough to beat. Although I saw their depth chart, and DeMarcus Bowman is 3rd on their depth chart. So I'm thinking to myself, Etienne can come in, and he's probably behind Shipley and Pace and Mafa maybe, but he's going to have an opportunity to be the star here in a couple of years. So I'm hopeful for Clemson's staying power here.
Well, and he's got a whole nother year until he's even on campus. So that should work out well for Clemson. And who knows, maybe someone transfers and takes a transfer. So we'll figure it out. Though, as I was talking about the other day, I've been hearing a lot of good things about Will Shipley in the fall practices. So I'm intrigued. Is that the right word, Casey? Intrigued to find out what happens with Shipley this fall. John Chase says, go ahead and give Pauk love. Pauk, Notre Dame is number 2 in recruiting. Say it now because it won't last. Oh, Pauk, shots have been fired.
Before you talk about Shipley, like I always pump the brakes on this, and you're usually the wait and see guy, and I love the fact that he's getting a lot of pub. But man, that running back room is stacked. It is stacked with talent. You know who we're not hearing a lot about? Lynn J. Dixon. You know who's relatively established as a really good running back? Lynn J. Dixon. No one's giving him any sort of love. It's how I feel about the wide receiver room with Frank Ladson. No one's giving him any sort of love whatsoever. Everyone's like, oh, Phil Mafah will be the number 1. Oh, Kobe Pace is going to be the number 1. Oh, Shipley's going to be the number 1 back. Well, you know what? We got 5 guys, and I say we as a Clemson fan, not necessarily Sluggo, but as a Clemson fan, we have 5 guys that were probably number 1 on multiple college rosters. And we're not even hearing about what should be, in my opinion, the number 1 guy that we know. We know what he can do. He struggled a little bit last year, battled some injury, but that dude is electric, and we're not hearing a word about him. We're hearing about a freshman, Will Shipley.
Well, here we go. I'm the guy that posted the highlight of Lynn J. Dixon yesterday. So, I believe he has things to offer. My problem with Lynn J. Dixon is it's hit or miss. He's a home run hitter.
Sure.
In Parker's terms, he's a true outcome guy, right? He's going to lose 7 or gain 70, right? I mean, that's kind of how it goes. He's not a plow ahead guy, or at least he hasn't been. He may be this year, but he hasn't been you can trust Trevor. Now I'm doing it. You could trust Travis Etienne to, fall forward for 3 or 4 most carries if there wasn't a hole. Lynn J runs around in circles and will lose 12 in those, sometimes in those instances.
That's fair. However, we haven't seen him as the feature guy.
That's true. And like I said, he may be different.
I don't know if it translates different when you're the number 1. I'm not sure. But we know he's a home run guy when he needs to be. Like You're going to add that to the seasonal, and then you have a Shipley type, and you have a Mafah, and you have, Kobe Pace. Like, keep going. We could keep going for days in that running back room. The wide receiver room, too. Good Lord.
Okay, I'll get to them in just a second. First, I want to finish up on Shipley. I'm not saying this about Shipley. I'm saying what others have said. My history is they're pick somebody every year and talk him up big in camp, and then you don't see him again until Wake Forest or whatever. I don't think they're going to put Shipley out there for 15 carries against Georgia on September 4th. No, I don't. This is the coaches talking him up and the media talking him up. I am more of, I want to see it on the field. Now, it took about 3 plays for me to see Travis Etienne on the field. So, there's some it's slippery there. I could change my mind at any time, but I am one to say I want to see it on the field first against college athletes. Well, okay, perfect segue, as you like to do on the Chop and Beef, is I want to see it from the wide receivers. I saw a guy on Twitter yesterday tell me that Joseph Ngata could be the little GOAT of Clemson receivers. Are you kidding me?
I saw that too.
DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Williams, all that 6 off of one team in the NFL. This guy has like 14 catches at Clemson. Some of it not his fault. He's been injured. I get it. But you can't say somebody's possibly the GOAT with the history of wide receivers at Clemson when he's done. The production has been, some of it's no fault of his own, I admit, when the production has been what Ngata's is. That is ludicrous. Frank Latson could be great. I want to see it on the field. Joe, your guy, right? He could be the GOAT at Clemson as far as I'm concerned, but I want to see it on the field down against South Carolina State or Newberry or Citadel or whoever. Show it to me against Alabama like Justin Ross has, and then I'll believe it. What is that guy basing his GOAT for Joseph Ngata on? Clips from August? The spring game? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. I know you're the wait and see guy. I'm kind of we've been together too long, Marty. I'm kind of adopting some of these features here, but I agree with you, and especially along with Shipley. Who else are we hearing most about in Clemson fall camp is a Joe. I mean, that's another one. And last year it was Joseph Ngata. That's who we heard about. We heard about it all season long, or in the preseason, and then he gets injured. So, that kind of always leaves me to pump the brakes a little bit on these guys who you're talking about. Shipley now included, and the Joe now included. Now, are they physically gifted? Joseph Ngata is one of the most physically gifted wide receivers in the country, and there's no arguing that whatsoever. Built, he's a statue. I mean, he looks like you can't chisel him. God made him perfectly. But is he able to catch the football and run down the field? We're not sure. He took one big hit in a game against, I think it was Boston College, and you never see it again for the rest of the couple of weeks. So, is he the glass? That's my thing of Latson. No one is talking about Frank Latson. Everyone's talking about a Joe. Everyone's talking about E.J. Williams. Everyone's talking about Joseph Ngata. Everyone's talking about Bo Collins, Troy Stellato, Dakari Collins. They were hearing about everybody else except Frank Latson. You know who's probably, in my opinion, the most electric wide receiver Clemson has? Frank Latson. Now, yes, does he have a problem with ops? No question. If he fixes that, you're going to hear about Latson more than you're going to hear about just about any one of these receivers. This is my opinion. I'm on the record right now. 48 minutes, 53 seconds on August 10th.
All right. It's August 11th, but, well, you're noted.
I'm on
John
vacation.
Chase,
I don't know what day it is.
you were lucky you showed up tonight thinking it was Tuesday. Hey, John Chancey says Lynn J struggles to create openings. If the line opens things up, he does great. Well, that doesn't give me a lot of encouragement. The last we saw of our offensive line, they had tractor marks on their face, I think. So we'll see how that works out. Robbie Posey says, Joe, I'm rooting for this kid. I think we all are, really. We all are, but I'm just I want to see it on the field kind of guy. Anything else, Casey, on recruiting? You had you put something on the outline here that was very descriptive. It says others, or
I
did
don't
I
think
put that on
I think you put it on there. No, I don't have anything else. I know Notre Dame just signed a couple wide receivers. I was messing with our friend of the show, Michael Palk, that they just need a quarterback to throw to them because wow, they got
there?
some names in top 100s. I know we've been messing with him over the year or over the weeks about the fact that their 4 stars are well back on the top 500 list. They got 2 top 100 receivers, but you need somebody to throw to them. So we'll see how they are. And as John Chancey puts in the chat, Jaron Kinnack, that's a great question there.
Last I heard from JP, it was going to be a drawn out thing. It wasn't going to happen today or tomorrow. It was going to take some time for him to decide where he's going to go.
Well,
John may
Kinnack,
know
Cyrus
more.
Moss.
Yeah.
We got a lot. We got a lot of guys that we're looking. We're kind of wait and see. I think this Travis Shaw thing kind of sees where we go. You know, after Travis Shaw, that domino falls. We'll see how Clemson ramps up if they happen to not get him. We'll see how they ramp up their maybe Cyrus Moss gets a little hot up. Maybe Kinnack, another one. They line up hard. We'll see.
Yeah, now I wonder if Travis Shaw is going to have a Clemson and North Carolina hat and then do the reverse fake, right? Put on the Clemson hat, take it off, and throw it, and put on the North Carolina hat. Wouldn't that be something after what happened a couple of weeks ago? So, hey, good news, Casey. As you know, but I want to tell everybody out there listening and watching, we are going to do picks this year again. Now we're going to change, and Locks is coming back. Locks has agreed to come back. Said he can't wait to make terrible picks on this show, just like he made last year. We're going to do a little bit different this year. We're going to have 3 picks each, me, you, and Locks. We're going to pick any game we want to, and we don't have to pick Clemson. I mean, picking Clemson and Wake Forest, trying to guess if Clemson's going to, cover the 38-point spread or whatever was a nightmare for us. And really, in the real world, when you're betting money, you bet on the games you want to and you feel good about, not the ones you're quote forced to. So we're going to pick 3 games. We're going to choose any games we want, and I'm in the process. You have sent someone over to me. Let me pull up their name right now. I'm losing track here. Play Action Pools is the name of the company, a startup who's trying to get folks onto their platform. I'm talking to them to see if it's a good fit for the group, the Facebook group. Theoretically, we can have a pool, a Facebook group pool where everybody signs up and puts in their picks and competes. So checking into that, more on that later. But the big news for me is we're going to do our picks this year. Locks is coming back. He's always fun. He makes fun of you, makes me laugh so much. You guys have known each other since Clemson, so that's a really good deal. And August 25th, me, you, and Locks are going to choose our conference champions, playoff reps, and national champion, and maybe even we'll do a Heisman Trophy winner or something like that. But that's going to happen on this show on August 25th. And on the show of September the 1st, that'll be our first week of picks. Man, I'm looking forward to this. I was so happy when I got Locke's text yesterday saying he was going to participate this year. Always makes it fun because of, you guys' background together, roommates, and want to put each other in a headlock and punch you in the face. And he makes, like I said, he makes fun of you, and that's always good for the podcast.
Yeah, he does a great job. He does a lot of research, truly, as much as we may joke that we don't. He really does for those, and he's fantastic. So we're excited to have him back. Glad that he expected to come back with us because, like you said, it's a lot of fun to have the little jab. And I think we're at that level after 60 weeks, 59 weeks, Marty, that we all can take a little jab in. So it's nice to have the triumvirate here with us that we can talk back and forth. So I'm excited for it. And my picks are going to be off the wall come August 25th with conference champions. I'm going to take a flyer on somebody. University of Dayton win the Big Ten. I don't know what it's going to be. But
I was thinking about this today, and Locks chimes in and says, we're back, baby. We're so back to steal a chop and beef line. I was thinking about this today and mine are just chalk. I mean, when you ask me who I think's going to win the conference, I go to the best teams. Call me crazy, right? I'm a nut job. I want the best teams. I expect the best teams. But I do have a team in mind for like the biggest disappointment that I think you saw on Twitter with going back and forth with Pout. Mine's not North Carolina, but a big name that everybody thinks is going to have a great year, I think is really going to fall on their face, and it'll be intriguing to see if that actually happens. Hey, Casey, we've got a couple of recruiting questions here. Arch Manning, does Clemson have a shot? I think JP said Clemson does have a shot, but it's so early in that process, who knows? But yes, I think is the answer.
Yeah, I think he's a long play, man. He doesn't have social media. He doesn't really talk to the press. So there's no real reading him, which I kind of like in the recruiting world. It kind of brings it old school. I think that Clemson has as good a shot as anybody. I will tell you something I read earlier, and I'm sure you've read it too, Robbie, is that Texas got glowing reviews after his visit there, and now with their move to the SEC, it kind of escalates their recruiting a little bit, but that doesn't count Clemson out. I really, truly feel Clemson's going to be in it until the end. You have to look at who's on campus and who's in the quarterback room already. You don't want to necessarily mess with what you have there. So I hope Clemson has a shot with Arch. However, if you miss on him, you got to make sure, and this staff's going to have somebody in the wings here, whether it's the guy from California or there's a guy out of New Jersey that everyone's hot on too, and a guy right by Chancey's in Fort Mill that everyone's hot on. So you got to make sure that you're in good with those three guys behind Arch, because if you miss on them, you don't want to miss on the next guy. So yeah, Clemson's in it, no question. But you gotta do your due diligence, and I give this staff a lot of credit and a lot of credence in being able to do that.
Just off the top of my head, he seems like a fit for Clemson. Doesn't mean he's not a fit for Alabama or Texas or whoever, but he's the kind of kid obviously you'd want at Clemson. They look at more than football talent, and he seems to will have fit that. So. That's one hurdle to clear there. And like I said, he seemed to have a good time. On the other hand, he had a good time everywhere he went because he's treated like a king. So, there's that. And now this question, you may know Casey better than I do. Anthony Weeks, welcome, Anthony. Glad to have you in. What's y'all's opinion on the center position? Now, I was going back with friend of the show, JP Priester from allclemson.com on this. He was hearing some good things about the offensive line, so he was texting me and we were talking about it. And guess what my answer was? I'll believe it when I see it, was my answer about the offensive line in general. But he said him too, but he's feeling pretty good about where the line is. I don't know about the center specifically. Maybe you do. I think you froze, Case.
I don't necessarily know about the center. Oh God! Of course.
You're back.
You got me.
Yes, we got you.
All right, I'm going to turn this off. I don't know about the center specifically. However, I believe everything I read, and that's one thing that I kind of gotten about Clemson's going to lose every week because I read about good Wake Forest is going to be, but. I think there's a lot of positives coming out, especially with Backhorst talking, and they're gonna be ready to roll this year. I truly believe that the offensive line is going to be ready. So, am I freezing again, Marty?
No, you're good. You're good. All right. Well, sorry, Anthony. We don't know specifics on the offensive line. Tell you what you do, Anthony, is if you're not already in our Facebook group, join the Facebook group, Seldom Reserve College Football Facebook group, and we'll get JP Priester to answer your question. He knows all about the offensive line. Allclemson.com if you're interested in
I'm going to learn about it this week.
Okay, getting some good information, or Casey will learn about it this week. Hey, Casey,
I'll have it for you.
The Chopping Beef Show. You guys on tomorrow?
We are. We're live again from my internet riddled place here in South Jersey. We'll be back. We've also had 2 weeks vacation on that show, so we're excited. We're ready. We got stories, and we'll hopefully not be having problems.
Yeah, it's the internet. I mean, they just started this thing up, right? It's a startup. The internet's a startup.
It's my phone,
right.
so it's now a phone. It's not even the internet. I don't even have it set up to the internet. This is BS.
You have to call Verizon or whoever, AT&T or whatever. Hey, preseason magazine coming via Twitter on Friday.
Right.
You did some work on that. You did some work, but you are frozen solid. So
yeah, so College Football Blitz CFB on Twitter has come up with CFB Blitz on Twitter has come up with a preseason poll or preseason preview book, a la the big ones, and I wrote for 20 of the pages for 20 of the teams. I think I did 11 of 14 ACC teams and 9 others all over the place. So enjoy that. It's actually really well done. I'm biased because I did 20 of them, but it's
at least 20 of them are well
researched. Yeah, I did a lot of research on some of these things. Heck, he gave me FIU, UMass, UConn. I got some teams that you'll never want to know anything about. Now I know all about them. So check it out. It's actually free for everybody. There's no payment. Hopefully next year we'll maybe get $1 or $2 for it. But it's a lot of fun. So check it out. It comes out on Twitter Friday, CFB Blitz, at CFB Blitz. Brendan Moore, a great guy. He'll be on the show here during the season. Wonderful, really, really knowledgeable guy. So excited to help him out with this project.
So you probably know about the FIU center position, but not Clemson.
I do. However, I did do the Clemson page. So I'm so sorry to Robbie Posey that I didn't know it, or Kevin or Mr. Weeks. I'm sorry, Anthony Weeks, that I didn't know it. I will. I'll look at it. So,
Casey, you have your homework. And let me say this about this preview magazine: if you like the cover, thank you. If you don't like the cover, I don't know who did it. Okay, and you will not be surprised to find out which quarterback I put on the cover of this magazine if you're a fan of this show or my bets that I made at the book of beef for the Heisman Trophy. And it's not number 5. Let me tell you that. It's not number 5. Casey, close it up, man. This was a lot of fun. It's been a couple of weeks since we talked, and it was just so much fun. Casey dropped off, so we'll go ahead and I will do the close and the thank yous as soon as I pull it up. I wanted to thank everybody in the Facebook group. We're about almost 1,400 members in that group now. It's grown quite significantly over the summer. We appreciate you. Nelson Wilhite, for all your help and support in that Facebook group and everything else you do to keep Casey and I abreast of the news. John Chansey, for writing for SeldomNewsReserve.com. John, appreciate you. You're a great writer. I hope to see more of that on SeldomNewsReserve.com. Everybody in that Facebook group, everybody that supports SeldomNewsReserve.com, great. Thank you. Appreciate it much. The folks that support just the Sluggo podcast, we have our own page, about 250 over there. It's a great place. Click on it, like it, help us out there. Each and every one of you who listens, likes, shares, and participates in this show. The live comments make it all worth it. We really sincerely enjoy them, whether they're nice or snarky or make fun of us or tell us what we need to correct. That's why we're here, man. We enjoy it. Casey and I both appreciate it. And I think we might have Casey back if he is slowly adding to the stream. Casey, I did your goodbyes. So all you got to do now is actually say goodbye while I find the exit.
Sorry, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
On Sluggo, and I can't find the exit. Hey, they changed this around, Beef. This is oh, here we go. Beef, this has been a lot of fun, man. I don't want to skip a couple of weeks again, but we had energy today. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it immensely.
No doubt, me too. Likewise, it was awesome. Thanks for the energy. Let's keep it going. On behalf of Marty, Seldom News Reserve Coleman, I am Casey the Beef Cregan. We'll see you next week on Sluggo.
I think we're done here.